Let's talk about the Yamaha DXS12 Mark II. Now, I never owned the original version of this sub, so there's going to be no comparison between the original DXS12 and the DXS12 Mark II. But let's get right into it. First, let's talk about the case, or the cover for it. You know, I'm a big fan of quality cases and covers that are well thought out and designed to work with the speaker. And I think Yamaha went above and beyond with this speaker because it's not just a slip cover that you slide over it to keep it from getting scratched or dusty. It actually is designed to work with the sub. So when you go to use it, you just open up this flap, Velcro it back, open up your pole mount if you're pole mounting your top speaker, and unvelcro the back, and you're good to go. You don't even have to take the cover off. So that's one of my most favorite things about this is, they didn't just do a cheap slip over cover. They actually built it to work with the subwoofer, and it fits nicely. I've complained about covers before, like the DAS Audio Vantec 215A. The covers that I got for that are so tight. They're like half an inch too small all the way around, and it's just a struggle to get them on every time. This cover fits nice, and it works well with the speaker. I really have no complaints about... Oh, I take that back. I do have one complaint about the cover. I do wish there was a small pocket to keep the power cord. That's probably my one complaint about the cover, but at the same time, I don't know if you can see it over here, sometimes the pockets get a little bulky, so it would be nice to keep the power cord with the sub, but it's also nice, just having a nice cube without a giant wart out the back of it to bump into stuff. But onto the sub. So this is a bandpass design instead of a more common bass reflex design, and I think that allows them to get more sound out of it. This one is rated at 134 dB, which is really loud for a 12-inch sub. My Vantec 18As are rated at 134 dB as well. So it's surprising that you get the same amount of sound out of this little 12, versus a full-size 18 that you'll pay $1,400 for. Now obviously it is a 12-inch sub, and while it does get loud, it doesn't hit real low. I think, if I remember off the top of my head, 41 Hertz at -10, but obviously that's 41 Hertz at -10. Now the actual peak is probably somewhere up around 80 or 90, where it's going to be most punchy. I did not look that up prior to recording the video. That's a guess off the top of my head. But also that depends upon where you have the crossover set to, which let's get to that. I'm gonna flip this guy around. And this is probably one of my favorite parts about this speaker. You can put casters on it. It's so lightweight. I opted not to put casters on it because I think I'd rather just, if I'm using a couple of them, stack them on a rock and roller and wheel them around instead of having the casters to kick them back on. And they just store nicer without the casters. But the back plate of this, one of my favorite things, it's got a crossover. But it doesn't just have an engageable crossover at 100 Hertz. It's selectable, 120 Hertz, 100 Hertz, 80 Hertz. So the gig that I had it out at, I was using a Yamaha Stage Pass system, so I had it at 120 Hertz, but I was clipping it, so I was trying to cut out some of the upper bass frequencies. I'm not a fan of 120 Hertz crossover. So I did knock it down to 100 and, just kind of create a little V there. But not only does it have the crossover, it's got a switch here. Throughput or high-pass filter post for the outs. if you guys watch my Turbo Sound IQ15B video, I've got comments on there where everybody's saying, you're saying in your video it doesn't have a crossover. I'm not saying it doesn't have a crossover. What I'm saying is the crossover that's built into the IQ15B by Turbo Sound only affects the subwoofer. In essence, the IQ15B is always stuck on throughput, where the two XLR outs are unaffected by the crossover. So you have to have a built-in crossover with your top cabinets or use an external crossover. What Yamaha has done here is they've made a switch. Do you want it throughput or do you want it high pass filter post? So you don't need a separate crossover in your top box. That's what I'm talking about in my IQ15B video. So, you know, if you're daisy chaining these subs together, obviously you're going to want it switched to throughput. If you are, you know, going in and then out to a top, you're going to want the high pass filter post. And one thing I like about what they did with these, if you look at the... We have a lot of DAS audio speakers, so I'm bringing them up as reference, but they have a switch on the back to engage a high-pass filter. But DAS Audio's is fixed at 100 Hertz, but yet they have a knob to adjust the crossover between like 80 and 120. And I never understand why the sub itself is fixed at an internal crossover point of 100 Hertz, but you can adjust the output. I think it's that way, or maybe it's the other way around, where the output's fixed at... No, I think it's the sub is fixed at 100 Hertz, but you can adjust the output crossover, which seems odd to me. So anyways, I really like how Yamaha did the crossover in this sub. I wish every manufacturer would do that. Now it's also got different sub modes: normal, boost, extended low frequency. I'll admit I don't notice a huge change when I push the buttons. You know, I was playing some really deep bassy rap music, and I had it on extended low bass, or extended low frequency, and I was clipping it really fast. So I put it back to normal, and just kind of left it there for the night. It's obvious I had polarity and cardioid mode. I never personally use cardioid mode. Some people might like to use it. You know, cardioid mode is nice if you're trying to keep bass off the stage, but I don't remember the exact calculation for it, but a lot of people think cardioid mode just like instantly magically takes the bass and pushes it forward, like all of it, and that's not what happens in cardioid mode. What you're actually doing is canceling the frequencies from the back and just keeping the frequencies from the front. So it's not like you're pushing all the bass forward. You're canceling out the bass in the back, and you're using another sub to do that. So you actually come out with less bass than if you were to just run them all normal. So when I'm DJing, I don't mind. I like kind of the bass hitting me when I'm DJing. In a live sound situation, you know, there might be instances where you want to keep bass off the stage, but for the most part, I never run cardioid mode. Front LED, it's got one on there. I think it's kind of pointless. It's in a weird spot. I think it looks weird when you have it on, so I always just have it off. But other than that, two XLR ins, two XLR outs. My other gripe is I'm a fan of the PowerCon connector, and they chose to use a locking IEC, and that's, you know, even the new speakers, the new DZR speakers that Yamaha has, they use the locking IEC, and I wish they would make the change to just a PowerCon. No fan. It's got the heat sink. We'll see how that works during the summer. You know, to be honest, I've got pretty good faith in Yamaha that these aren't going to have overheating problems, but time will tell on that. I have only ever ran into an overheating issue outdoors with one speaker, and that was the Electro Voice ELX, I believe. The original ELX series, because I think they're onto the ELX 200. But the original ELX series, it's the only speaker I've ever owned where I've been at a gig and they've went into thermal shutdown. Luckily not both at the same time. One speaker shut off, and then by the time that one cooled down enough to pop on, the other speaker shut off, and it was, I felt like it was a little touch and go, but I made it through the gig. I do like that on the top they did a twist lock, a threaded, is it M20? M10 mount? Might be M20. And then they also did a standard pole mount. I haven't used a standard pole mount. I always use a threaded screw-on pole when I can because it locks the pole there nicely. One of my big complaints with the DAS subwoofers have been, I feel like the hole's just too big. I mean, all my poles just wobble, and if you really raise up the top, I mean, I've got inches of wobble room. I mean, basically, I always have a downward tilt because my pole falls forward with the Vantec 18As. So, really happy they put a threaded connection in here. Sound-wise and performance-wise. Now, I have only used these out at a gig once personally. I plan on using them more though, so I'll probably do another review video where I kind of give my final thoughts. This one's kind of a more than an initial thoughts video, it's a first test run video. But I'd like to use them in a few different situations. So right now, this past weekend, what I did was I used the Yamaha Stage Pass 600 BT, and then I used 2 of these. Now I'm going to say that's not my favorite configuration. I probably won't use that system like that again. I don't like that the Stage Pass output is fixed at 120 Hertz. Yeah, I'd like to bring that down to at least 100. So I probably won't use it personally with the Stage Pass anymore. I know somebody that commented on another video said they were looking at getting these with the Yamaha DXR10. And I think that might be what I'm leaning towards. I was thinking of the DXR8 just to have like a really compact setup, but I don't know if the 8's going to have enough output for me, so I think maybe going with the 10. I was thinking DBR10 originally, but I think I might step it up and get a little bit higher quality speaker and go with the DXR10. So 2 of these and 2 DXR10s is what I think I'm going to get for my next test run that I do with these, and see if that works better. I'd really like to, I don't know if the 10s will have enough low output to drop the crossover down to 80 Hertz. So I might change my idea on that, but I'd really like to be able to set these up with an 80 Hertz crossover so that I can really cut out that upper, kind of mid-bassy range and see if I can get the 12s to try to focus on a little bit lower frequency. Because the thing you run into with like a 12-inch sub that hits at 80-90 Hertz, the hardest, now it does go down to 41, but it hits the hardest at 80 or 90 Hertz, is, well, it gets loud. You don't necessarily think that it sounds super bassy, like, oh, I'm getting chest-thumping bass, because it's a higher bass frequency. And I run into that with our DAS Audio Action 218As. They hit hardest at like that 80 to 90 Hertz range. And while it sounds loud, you don't really get that deep clubby bass that you're just, really feeling. I mean, I did feel these in my chest, but, not to the level as if they were hitting at 60 Hertz. It would, they'd be slamming. It's kind of weird because you can have a sub hit, maybe do 130 dB at 60 Hertz, and it'll almost sound louder than 134 dB at 80 Hertz because you're getting that lower rumbly bass that you're starting to feel. When you start to hit around the 90 Hertz bass, that's kind of in the range where just a top could do it, but these do fill out the sound nicely. Obviously if you're buying a 12-inch sub, you're not going to find a 12-inch sub anywhere that can compete with an 18. They're just not going to hit low enough. But these do have very good punchy bass, and if you're using two 12s and you add one or two of these, you know, you're gonna fill out your sound, and it's gonna sound 10 times better. I test out some subs, like I tested out the Turbo Sound IQ15B and pretty much instantly put it up for sale. I've got two of these in inventory right now. I have no intention of selling these. I do plan on buying more. For a 12-inch sub, the output is quite impressive. My thoughts, I would really like to get like 8 of these and just stack them, you know, center cluster them and see what they could do if I set them to the 80 hertz crossover, because two of these should have the exact same dB output as one of my dual 18 Action 218As. So when you think two 12-inch subs coupled together should put out 140 dB of bass, and my Action 218 subs put out 140 dB of bass. These hit at -10 at 41. My DAS ones hit at -10. They hit down to 40 hertz. So very close, and just being so much more compact, easier to move around, lightweight. It's pretty impressive when you think about it. And I'm strongly considering these for, you know, corporate events where we might be playing music. You know, some corporate events don't need subs, but, you know, if we're playing music to have a fuller sound. Church events, I'm thinking about these for. And if I get a couple of these, I'm pretty tempted to try them in a live band situation. Because a live band, you are looking more for, you know, the punchy bass to really make the kick drum sound. You're not really looking for that super low rumbly bass. So I'm kind of tempted to pick up like 6 more of these and have 4 per side with some pretty decent tops, and, you know, see what kind of sound I can make with the band. And price-wise, these aren't bad. I think, off the top of my head, I think MAP is like $7.99. Cover will run you another $100. If you want the casters, they'll run you another $100, but I wouldn't recommend getting the casters. I bought both of these B stock. I think I saved about 100, 150. I think I got them for about $6.50 a piece, maybe. So I'm definitely hoping to snag a few more B stock. I don't have the funds to do that right now, but you can definitely expect me to buy more of these. I do have the DSR 18 XLFs. I have 2 of those, and after I got these, I was kind of thinking, man, I wish I would have just bought a bunch of these. But we do big stuff too, where 12-inch subs probably wouldn't fit the bill. So I still plan on getting probably 6 more of the 18s, just so I have 8 of those. I think I'd like to get 8 of these, and these are a good matched sub for the Stage Pass 600 BT. That's in our we use the Stage Pass now for our do-it-yourself DJ rental, and then if they want to add a sub, they get one of these with it. But I think for me, I am currently using, for you know, our small to mid-sized DJ shows, I'm using our RCF J8 and a J-Mix 8, which has a 12-inch kind of subwoofer, you know, lower mid-bass woofer, and then a column array top. And I like those, but you just don't get the bass output. I mean, the bass output of these has to be double what the J8's J-Mix 8 can put out. So I'm really thinking about switching from a column array back to a point source with just a 8 or a 10-inch top, just for that extra bass that you get out of them. I've been testing out column arrays like a madman, and, you know, I love how compact they are. I like that the J-Mix 8 has a built-in mixer, but it just seems like for, you know, for how compact it is, how easy it is to set up, there's just so many trade-offs for it. You know, clean look and being compact, is about the main benefits that I've seen of a column array. If you want really good sound output, you know, traditional speaker systems still seem to be the way to go. And I think I'm just going to go back to having, I think for my standard show, I'm going to have two 12-inch subs and either a good 8 or 10-inch top. And that's going to be my small little mobile rig for, you know, weddings up to 150, maybe 200 people, smaller school dances, you know, anything in that, anything probably up to about the 200 person range. When we get to the, you know, a bigger show or an outdoor street dance, obviously, I'm going to be bringing the 18-inch subs, and I haven't decided what to buy for tops yet. I do have a DB Technologies rep stopping by here next week, and he's actually bringing me some of the Ingenia series, and I'm going to pole mount the Ingenia series to this and see how good it works together. So I'm kind of excited for that. He should be here in 2 days. But anyways, if you have any questions on this, feel free to throw it down in the comment section. I think I covered everything that I like about it. You know, there's a lot of pros to it, but you do have to realize you're getting a 12-inch sub, so it's not gonna, you know, you're not gonna want to be doing any dubstep gigs where people want the building to shake. I mean, this'll make everything shake in my shop, and it gets loud in here, and it got loud at the school last night. But it just, you know, if you want a lot of bass with a sub, you need something that's going to hit down to 30 hertz at -10, not 40 hertz. You really want to get that peak from 80 to 90 where it hits the hardest down to about 60, 55, 60. But these are a very good sub for a 12-inch sub. Until next time, have a good day.